Haume, welcome to another lesson. Today we're going to be looking at what is called the quotative particle. What exactly is this? Well, it sounds or it looks in written form like this: me or me or me. And essentially what this is, it's like a spoken quotation mark. Oftentimes it occurs, however, with a verb of speech, a verb of communication, talking, or a verb that refers to thinking, a verb of crying, as you can see here, nitam, to tell, or yaka there, cry, or tsunami, to think, niya, to call. However, it can also occur alone. And so I have a lot of examples, obviously, again, like I always do. So I hope by the end of this video you'll have a better understanding of how it works. But again, it's like a verbal quote, like when you're talking with about a friend, like you say, my friend came over and you know what he told me? He said this, quote, I hate you, end quote, and then he took off, or something like that. So just a broad general example, but again, let's get into the examples so that you can have a better understanding. Very first example, very common one that is useful. Ne Josh, me nani, means my name is Josh, or perhaps more literally, I am called Josh. And so what you have here, again, you have me plus a verb of speech. It means to say, or to call, or it could mean to name, ni a. When you had the na prefix, it makes that a passive verb. Called, I am called. Or a middle verb. I am called, or I am named. This me doesn't really necessarily get translated, but it's still required to be there. It indicates kind of an indirect quote. I am called Josh. That is my name. Let's look at more examples. Very similar one. Usu hurziba quidna mi nani. That bird is called quidna. They're very similar. Again, me plus nani. It is called. Here's another one, almost identical. Bukumorop mi naniar bija iwadar zinatuzua. This means bukumorop, as it's called, is good medicine for a toothache. I'm not sure what this plant is, bukumorop, but that's what it's called, mi nanyar, and it's good for a toothache medicine. Wene mi nabo. It says stop, and this was actually said in reference to a stop sign. It is written stop. Wene mi nabo. So in this case, bo is a verb that means to mark or to write. Again, you got this na prefix indicating like a middle passive. It is written. Stop. Wene mi nabo. Me isn't translated, again, but it's still required because it indicates something that in a sense has been quoted, even if only written. Here's another one. Ya havino mina nanitam. Here is your bed, we were told. In this case, someone was sharing their experience going to the boarding schools, and when they were brought to the rooms, their authority figures told them, here's your bed. So, ya havino, here is your bed. Mi nanitam, we were told. As you can see here, the me plus the verb nitama doesn't always need to be directly next to each other. There can be something in between it. In this case, ne mi. We were told. Usu yarabino pirukwa mi. She said she will arrive today. Usu, she, yarabino, today, pirukwa, will arrive, mi. So here you see it occurs by itself. So obviously if it occurs by itself, then you need to supply some sort of verb of speech. So she said she will arrive today. Pawao kasaga yumi. It had big wings, they say. So this could be, for example, from a story, and the person telling the story is just saying what people have said in the past about something. Babao kasagayu. It had big wings, they say. Kai mi uni pana. Kai mi uni pana. So here you have kai uni, or excuse me, me and uni. So me uni. Say. Uni is say. And if you remember from previous video that I did on prohibitions and commands, imperatives in Northern Paiute, then you'll remember kai, the negation kai, that starts a phrase, and then you have this suffix pana at the end of the verb, then that indicates a prohibition. So don't say that. Kai, mi uni pana. Hauyaka mi I tuvinga. He asked me if I had cried. Or perhaps more literally, did you cry? He asked me. Again, you can have this something else in between me and the verb. So me plus tuvinga, ask, but it has E in the middle, which is me. So he asked me. Me I tuvinga. He asked me. She asked if you ever see a mountain sheep, or did you ever see a mountain sheep? She asks. Again, no verb was there, but you have me, so you have to supply a verb. In this case, it's asking a question. Yesh miu katsagura nitam. Then he told the porcupine. Oftentimes what you hear in stories is miunitam, miunitama, which means that someone told someone else something. Miunitama. He told him something. But in this case, you also have the full noun phrase gatsagura, gatsagura. So he told the porcupine that u plus gatsagura are in what's called an appositional relationship to one another. In other words, they refer to the same entity. It's almost like saying, she told him, that is the porcupine. Him and porcupine are the same. Mi u katsagura nitama. Then he told him, the porcupine. All right, next one. Would not mio paquigasi. Mi su parakai kapongita unitama. So again, you have me now with its verb nitama way at the end, and you have multiple words coming in between it. Okay, that's fine. A little bit of a grammar lesson again, based on a previous video. If you saw it, su introduces subjects of the sentence. So in this case, the subject is parakai, raccoon. So the raccoon is the one saying something. Ka introduces the direct object of a verb. So in this case, the object is kapongita, the skunk. So the raccoon told the skunk something. In this case, now also you have kapongita u. So skunk, u is him. Again, they're in oppositional relationship to one another. They refer to the same entity. So it's like saying the raccoon told him, that is the skunk. Next example. Sunana miu unakwi o nos nukanatsina. Says, the man said, long ago when I was a boy. Here you see the me plus the verb can occur before the actual quotation. I will hide in there, she was thinking. So here, this is dealing with thoughts. So there was actually no verbal, out loud communicating of her intentions to hide. It was all in her thoughts. Nevertheless, you still use this quotative particle me. I will hide in there, she was thinking. Here's another one similar. Usunum mi ne usupicha. I thought he was sick. This is all just going on in the mind. It wasn't actually spoken verbally, but you still require this me. I thought. Me supicha. Together. We thought you had really gone. That you had really gone. You had gone for good. Mi nemi supicha. So we nemi you think supicha. So we thought this about you. We thought you had really gone. Again, me isn't actually translated. It's supicha. Think is what was translated. If you tell him that, he will cry. This na suffix can indicate a conditional clause. In other words, if you tell him that, he will cry. So me plus dukwi. Me plus dukwi. If you tell him that, he will cry. Me, again, is not actually translated. Don't take it seriously. I'm only saying. Or in other words, I'm just kidding. In this case, you see there's 3 me's. In English, doesn't really make any sense. Doesn't sound correct. It says, how does she sing, your grandmother? I asked, said also, so I spoke. We don't speak like that in English, but I just translated it like that just to kind of give you an idea that there are 3 me's being used here. Mi utuvinga. I asked her. Mi ruao, said again. Nerdia miu. I, again, thusly spoke. So I just want you to have an idea of how this can be used. You can hear people saying this multiple times, even though in English it doesn't really sound right. Here's another one. Then he asked, what should we do today? So here you see the 2 me's can actually bracket the entire quote. He asked. And then this last me at the end of the quote isn't actually translated, but you can still use it. Another one similar. Then the cow said, okay, I'll try it. Again, me and me bracketing the quote. You don't translate them both. It's just the cow said something. Final example. Yesh ipia miu uyaruachai osa unakapeni hayusa uniwon mi. Then my mother said, speak to it, and later listen to it, how it responds. So again, you have me bracketing the entire quote. Which is a great example of why this is called the quotative particle. It indicates quote, something that was quoted, either directly or indirectly. Manusa. So that is the end. I hope you enjoy it again. This is just kind of an overview with a lot of examples to show you how this particle is used, how it can be used. So hopefully next time you're listening to stories or hearing people talk or reading, perhaps at my website, nemu-no.com, you'll have a better idea of this word now, me. As always, the best way to learn is by hearing as often as you can to speakers using these words in contexts, in various contexts. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. As always, hope you have a good day. Until next time, punirua. See you later.